start right here with a poem.
Please.
And it goes like this. Get away, ride the wind to a destination with your friend. Catch the Spirit.
Spirit Airlines?
Spirit, yes!
Get away, ride the wind to a destination with your friends. Catch the Spirit, Spirit Airlines.
The relationship that I had with Spirit was 1994. They were Spirit in 1992. I opened my ad agency in 1993.
Okay.
And there was 3 of us. And we worked out of a little loft in Birmingham, Michigan.
I kind of remember that.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. There was only 3 of us, and I got wind that from a radio rep who was trying to pitch us on, and I think we had a whopping 2 clients back then. You know those days.
Of course. Yeah.
Of course. And, and my first client was Great Lakes Health Plan. I don't think they're around anymore, but what do I know? Anyway, she came to my office and said, hey, there's an airline looking for an ad agency. I'm like, oh, sure. Okay. And I said, she goes, you should pitch them. And I said, really? I said, there's 3 of us, an airline. And she said, yeah. And she gave me the guy's number who owned it, the founder, Ned Homefeld. Gave me his direct line, and he answered. And he said, yeah, we're looking for an ad agency. I'd love to come. I'd love for you to come in and pitch us and talk to us. I'm like, okay. So there was 5 other ad agencies that pitched in like I said, I think it was 1994. And Spirit had just figured out they were going to expand operations. Initially, they started in, I think, 89 as Charter One. And they were, the guy that owned it wanted to take his buddies gambling in Atlantic City. So he literally chartered a plane. And that's why it was called Charter One.
Okay.
Right? See,
That's
I have
the rest of the story.
Yeah. So it there was no internet back then. So it was word of mouth.
Right.
So more and more of his buddies wanted to go gambling with like day trips. And that's really how it started. And then as they grew, they decided they needed an ad agency to help market them. And lo and behold, we pitched the account. I called you. I said, Dan.
That's right. You called me pretty quickly.
I called you immediately because I had one shot at getting this account. And I said, I need a jingle and I need it now.
Now.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm more important than anybody else. Put away everything and you gotta write this jingle for me.
Yeah. I mean, was it on the basis of the jingle that you got the account? It wasn't that.
It wasn't. Okay, no.
If you said yes, I'd be like, oh, wow.
Yes and no. I knew that in order to compete with all these other ad agencies, I needed to stand out. Right. And I've always believed in jingles. And you and I have worked together for 40 years now. 35?
Close to, yeah.
Close to 40 years. And I always said that the best way to market is through music.
Right.
And because it's memorable. And you wrote the jingle. I remember coming in for the session. And Susan Calloway sang it. And I remember doing a music video and you did the track. And originally, this is funny. I thought it was Spirit Air. With Spirit Airlines.
I remember, yeah.
You had to go back in it.
You said you have to make a correction.
Yeah, well, we had to redo everything.
Oh my gosh! Oh,
so
really? All the text too, all of that stuff.
Back then, there was print ads, there was billboards,
right?
There was there was radio, there was television, and so they made an appointment. We made an appointment. They were in East Detroit, off 8 Mile. Yeah, off 8 Mile past the Armory.
Oh yeah, right.
across from the IHOP.
By the cannons.
Yes, sir. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. And we went into this pretty dingy little office off 8 Mile and into some little room. It was their coffee room, and I got up there and I had an easel, and I brought my TV and my VCR, and I pushed the button, and they were mesmerized. We did a whole campaign. We did TV commercials, radio. We did everything, and they sat there and I'll be honest with you, they were. I think they were really impressed that they didn't know there was only three of us.
Mm.
They
How
thought
did,
we
you
were.
get, how did you get by that one?
I didn't say anything.
Silence is golden.
Silence is golden. I just took control, and I'll tell you what. The very next day, we got a phone call.
The next day.
The next
The
day,
next day.
and they said, "Go out tonight and celebrate, but don't celebrate too long because you hit the ground running tomorrow. Congratulations, you got the account."
Hit the ground doesn't sound good, but what?
No, not for an airline. And when we started with them, they had 7 planes
Mm.
that they leased. And again, they still didn't really. Nobody know what they were doing. They weren't totally like an airline yet. They were figuring that out, and we were figuring out how.
Did they ask you to pilot one of the planes?
Possibly. But I mean, that's where the relationship started, and we were with them through thick and thin, and we started advertising in Detroit, and they only had 3 routes: Myrtle Beach, Atlantic City, and Fort Lauderdale. Oh, and the Bahamas.
Oh,
4 routes. I'm sorry, they had 4 routes. So we hammered those 4 routes, and they didn't even have a gate at Metro Airport. That was their hub. It was Detroit Metro. And we hammered and hammered and hammered, and we were on every single station. And people were out the door at Metro. They didn't even have a gate. They were using Northwest Airlines gate. When Northwest Airlines was in between, ticketing,
Right.
they would leave and they'd let Spirit use their gate.
Wow.
It was unbelievable, and it took off from there.
Off. Yeah.
And we maintained our relationship. The routes grew. They were selling for $69, $79, and $99, and that was their business model back then. And we did everything for them, from the designs of the peanuts, the bags of peanuts, to the napkins, we redesigned the planes, I think 3 or 4 times. That's a whole nother story. But
Oh, really? I didn't know that you did that.
oh yeah, we redesigned their planes several times. And I remember they said, don't go crazy on the design, because the more paint we put on the plane, it weighs the plane down, and we have to spend more money in fuel. This is, again, I learned so much. I can't make this stuff up, Dan. So we were very cognizant of the designs of the logos and stuff. And so we had them for, I think, total, 11 years. But I was also, along with doing, owning the ad agency, I was also doing voice work, which
For them or other people?
I was doing everybody that was a client and other people, and I was the voice of Spirit Airlines for 11 years.
Yeah. All right.
Call 1-800-772-7117. So if you lost your bags...
Do it in your Casey Kasem style.
That's right, Dan. So if you lost your bags and you called Spirit, it was me saying, "We're sorry, your bags have been lost."
Oh, my. Well,
Yeah,
that seemed to have been a trend with lost baggage with them.
Oh, it was because they were understaffed and they were growing. They were going through growing pains, and they left Detroit because they got a tax incentive. They were looking for a new headquarters,
Yeah.
So they got a tax incentive to move to Miramar, Florida. So
Hmm.
they ended up moving to Miramar, Florida, and they had a huge operation down there. And they said, unless you move with us, you will lose the account. So
Wow.
we had to open an office, and we did. We opened an office in Hollywood, Florida. And I had to man it, I had to staff it. The good news was we got to fly for free.
Okay. So you
Yeah.
followed them around, basically.
Yeah, we followed them around. They before they were ready to go into their Miramar headquarters, they were in trailers over by Fort Lauderdale Airport, and so we opened an office in Hollywood, which was close to Fort Lauderdale Airport. It was literally 5 miles away.
Right.
So we put a recording studio in the office because back then it was so competitive with Delta and some of the other carriers that they would change their fares almost every day.
To meet the Spirit Airlines thing?
Yeah, so Delta would fight against them, and then they'd lower their rate, and I had to record all the TV and re-record all the TV and radio.
Wow. For which
Yeah.
you got paid, right? I mean,
It was beautiful because
yeah.
after a while, they were in like 14 markets across the country, the Bahamas. They were expanding rapidly. So,
Wow.
the magic ended after I think 11 years, and Ned, who owned the company, they were in over their head, I think, and he was trying to save the company. There was a cash flow problem, and he ended up selling the company to a private equity firm.
Mm.
He remained president, and unfortunately, we were let go. And even after having 20 accounts and 15 employees, it just wasn't enough to maintain the ad agency staying open. So I had to shut it down and move on.
But when you think back, was it their low fares and a continuum of low fares that put them into a box where they couldn't get out of it?
I think the downfall was, yeah, that was part of it, but years earlier, they started talking about this low fare model where they're going to charge for everything. They were talking about charging to use the restrooms on the plane. I'm not kidding.
Oh my gosh.
They were charging, they hadn't implemented it yet with us.
What if you had to go? What are you going to do?
I guess go in your seat. I don't know. And they charge extra to clean it up. I don't know, Dan. But the low fare model, apparently, from everything I've been reading and seeing, the margins are pretty tight. And what put them under recently, May 2nd, I think, was the end of it,
Right.
was the war in Iran. The gas prices
Right.
were too much for them to bear. And as I told you, we were redesigning the planes, and they were cognizant of don't use too much design because that's more paint. It's going to weigh the planes down, and that's cost us more money in fuel.
Well, that seems inconceivable to me that paint would bear the plane down to a point where it would be
It added extra weight.
not affordable, huh?
It added extra weight to the plane. I mean,
So how do you battle that with the likes of Delta and American and whatever? Why couldn't change their whole? I'm just thinking.
No, I don't.
If you were in that seat for Spirit Airlines, that you wouldn't say, okay, we have to start doing what these guys do, or
Right.
was it too late?
That's a good question, because I know that by Spirit, people bash Spirit all the time, and they did, and they used to call them all kinds of names I won't repeat. Something blank box airlines. I mean, I heard it all. So, but
Which
one thing
didn't bode well for you.
No.
That's the average.
Hey, look, you know what? They paid their bills. So
Of course. Yeah.
we were fine. And by golly, they were as loyal as the day is long. I went through during that period that we had them at Victor Associates, which was the name of the ad agency.
Right.
They stuck with me for, I think, through 7 different marketing directors over those 11 years.
Wow.
And Ned, the owner, and I became good friends. And he trusted me, and he trusted our direction. He knew we would never lead him the wrong way. And they grew and grew and grew. And
Yeah, but you know, when I, as a, me
yeah,
knowing you all these years, you would be very unlike other people in the media market. You're fairly well sensitized to the feelings of, you know, where
yeah.
people are going with things. So you probably put margins out there for them to be able to recoup something so they could survive.
We did our best for them, and they did reduce. You know, there was a point where they wanted to get a commission structure, and they put us on a monthly retainer, and that saved them money, but it was still good for us.
Right.
And again, you know, when push came to shove, which was right around 9/11, people stopped advertising, especially airlines.
Right.
So they pulled the plug, and rightly so, and so did all the rest of our clients. So that was kind of the end of my ad agency. So I had to let everybody go, 15 people. We got rid of the big office in Bloomfield Hills, and we downsized, and we called it a day.
Well, that about does it. Wraps the whole thing up.